bring you a tutorial in collaboration with Fabric Mart Fabrics to create the pleated midi skirt and the crop top. The crop top for this tutorial will be created using pattern Vogue 8815. I will not be using the peplum portion, but just the crop top. I also will be using, drafting my midi skirt from scratch, so we'll get into those measurements in just a moment. The fabric I'll be using for my skirt is a lightweight jacquard fabric, which is easy to transition from late winter into spring. It can be worn with tights or without, whichever way you like. One of the awesome things about this fabric is it can be used on either side. So we have the light side where there's more of a winter white towards tan color and black, or the other side which is the same color but has more black. I'll be using the lighter side for this tutorial, and I opted to use the darker side for my waistband since I'll be having a black crop top. This is a lightweight jacquard. The fabric that I'll be using for the crop top is a poly rayon blend from Fabric Mart Fabrics as well. So let's go ahead and get into the measurements for the skirt, and once we finish constructing the skirt, then we'll move on. So for my midi skirt, we're going to go ahead and outline the measurements that I made. The object of this skirt is to have 4 pleats in the front, 4 pleats in the back. The front and the back pieces are going to be identical. We will be inserting a pocket to this pattern. You can use any pocket pattern that you have as long as it's a straight pocket. I've cut 4 pieces out for this. And for the measurements of this skirt, I measured my waist at the point because it's going to be a high-waisted skirt. I measured myself at that point, which is 27.5 inches. So I rounded it up to 28. I went ahead and added an additional 12 inches to my front and my back separate pieces in order for me to be able to accommodate my pleats. My pleats will be 3 inches for each pleat, so that takes me back down to my 14 inches, which is the 28 inches in total. Once I cut my pattern pieces out, I measured how long I wanted my skirt. For this midi skirt, I opted to have it 28 inches long, which is just below my knees. And I opted also to have the end of my skirt extend 8 inches from the point of where my waist stops. So for instance, my skirt is 28 inches long. I have my 14 inches plus my 12 inches for my pleats. So that gives me a total of 26 inches for my top. And then I created a straight line to the end of my fabric and accommodated the 8-inch push out. This is going to give the skirt more of a girly feel. It's going to give it a little bit of flow to it instead of it being a straight pleated skirt. So I put 8 inches on each side, here and here, and then I have my 2 pieces. Once you do that, you're going to want to play with your pinning and select the placement for your pleats. You want your pleats to be equally apart so that you can have a nice professional feel. I've done that here with my front piece, and I have my pleats pinned. So almost like you pin darts, I went ahead and pinned where I want my pleats to be. They're all equally apart. I have my pleats at 1.5 inches. So that's a total of 3 inches for every single dart that you create. The next thing I'm going to do is take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew down 3 inches for every dart that I have here. So I'm going to do that for the front piece and the back piece, and then we'll be back to pin the pockets and then also sew the sides of the skirt. This is something you can do fairly quickly, but you have to make sure that you're making your pleats equally apart. So depending on your waist size, you're going to have to play with it until you have 4 3-inch pleats on your pattern. So whatever your waist size is, you add another 12 inches to it. That will give you 4 3-inch pleats. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the sewing machine and sew my pleats, and then we'll get into pressing down those pleats and prepping for the pockets and for the construction of the skirt. Okay, so now that you have your pleats sewn into the top part of your skirt, you're going to want to spread your dart open here, or your pleat open here. Position your fabric here at the natural fold and just press that open. You're going to do that for all 4 pleats. And just press it at the top. Sure I have my pleat defined there. Once you do this, you're going to take it over to the machine and you're going to ease stitch it across the top, or give it a just like a really loose stitch across the top, just at the point where the pleats are, just to hold your pleats in place. I've went ahead and done my back piece like this already, so I have it prepped. Now we're ready to get into the pocket placement. So let me go ahead and e-stitch my front piece and then we'll come back and do that. Now that we have our front and our back pleats assembled, we can move on to the pockets. You're going to take a ruler and you're going to measure down 4 inches, because we don't want because it's a high waist skirt, you don't want your pockets to be up at the high part of your waist. So we're going to measure 4 inches down. And we're going to, I'll put a pin here. I'm going to do that on both sides. Measure down exactly 4 inches. Put a pin. And that's going to be my mark for where my pocket is going to be sewn on. So since it's the right side, I'm going to replace this pin my pocket. Just going to pin it here at the top of the bottom. Going to do the same thing with the other side. Replace that pin. And I'm done with the front piece, so we can go ahead and start on the back. Right sides up. I'm going to measure my 4 inches. Grab my pin. And replace that pin with my pocket. Do the same with the other side. Measure my 4 inches. Grab my pocket piece. Right. So now I have my pocket pieces placed on my front and my back pieces. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. Remember, we're sewing the pockets to the right side of the skirt. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, attach both of my pockets to the sides with a 1/4 inch seam, and we'll come back and we'll start putting together the front and the back. Okay, so now that we have our pockets attached to the front and the back pieces, we're going to go ahead and sew or pin our skirt at the side seams in preparation for not only the zipper, but the waistband as well. So I am going to have my zipper on the right side, which means with right sides together, I'm going to pin the entire side. You can choose whatever side you want your zipper on. I went ahead and pinned down the side here, matching my pockets together, which I'm also pinning. And for the left side, which is going to be the right side of my skirt, I am going to pin just at the top of the pocket, which is 4 inches down, as we already discussed, and down the side as well as the pocket. Now, for my proportions, my hip is 41 inches and my waist is 28. Therefore, I know from making previous garments that I will be able to put this skirt on with my current measurements with ease. So if your proportion differs from this a lot, you may want to move down your pockets an inch or two, or you may want to look into other options for your pockets so that you don't disrupt the zipper placement. So for this, I know that sewing my pockets or my side seams from the top of my pocket down is going to give me enough space along with my waistband in order for me to slip into the skirt without any issues. I'm going to take this skirt over to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew the pockets around to close in the pockets, and I'm going to sew down the side seams. Now, for the pocket, I'm only going to come down an inch at the top, and then I'm going to start again an inch from the bottom of the pocket so that I can have a nice wide opening to put my hands in, and then sew the rest of the side seams with a normal 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and do that and come back, and then we'll start attaching the waistband. So I took my skirt to the sewing machine and I sewed my pockets closed as well as the side seams, with exception to the 4-inch above the pocket on this left side, which will be my right side. Now I can move on to putting on my waistband. This waistband cutout is a 6-inch by the size of my waist plus an inch. So that's 29 inches. I'm going to turn my skirt inside out, right sides out. And I'm going to start at my opening on the left side, which will be my left side rather. And I'm going to pin my waistband. And I'm pinning it right at the pleat so it can have a really nice hold on it. Okay, so I've pinned my waistband on. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. I have my waistband pinned to the right side of the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and take this to the sewing machine. So it's standard 5 inch seam across by the 5/8 of an inch. And I'm going to sew that all the way around, and we'll come back and we'll start prepping for the zipper. So now that we have the waistband attached to the skirt, we can go ahead and move on to prepping for the invisible zipper. What I did is I took one side, the open side, I split the side open at the side seams, and I went ahead and pinned my zipper right sides down to one side of the inner seam. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew down this invisible zipper. Again, it's right sides down, which is right side against right side. I'm going to sew down this area here with my zipper foot, and I'm going to then start from the bottom. We'll be just about done with our zipper with exception to one part. So I'm going to do this and then we'll move on to finishing the zipper. Okay, so now we have our zipper attached to the side seam here. I went ahead and opened up that seam. Tack this with my sewing machine, or you can do this by hand. I rather do it on the machine. So I'm going to pin that on both sides. Fold or tuck and fold. This gives you a very nice finish to your zipper and also eliminates the need for you to put a hook and eye in this area. You can still do that if you like, but it may be kind of messy because the zipper goes all the way to the edge of the garment. I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'm going to tack it with about a 1/4 inch tack at the top of both of these to lock in not only the tuck but the fold as well. And this way I'll be finished with my zipper. The next thing I'm going to do is turn my skirt inside out, and I'm going to do a 5/8 of an inch fold and a 5/8 of an inch additional fold. So I'm doing a double 5/8 of an inch fold on the entire bottom of my skirt so that I can go ahead and hem it at the bottom. Once we do that, we are done with the skirt. So I'm going to do this at the machine. I'm going to show you the finished product, and then we'll move on to the crop top. Okay, so now that we went ahead and finished off the tack on our zipper and hemmed the bottom of our skirt, we are done. The only thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and press your skirt to define the pleats a little bit more, and you're done. We have our pockets on the side. And the way that I cut this fabric actually accentuates the sides as the larger print on the giraffe design of the fabric. So we have the larger prints on the side while we have the smaller prints in the middle. This is so beautiful to me, you have no idea. So now that we're finished with the skirt, we're going to move on to 8815, which is the top. So I've already cut out my pattern pieces for my sleeve here. I've cut out the pieces for both the front and the back, which are here. So we have our back here, which is cut into 2 pieces as per the pattern, and our front piece, which is cut on the fold. The first thing I'm going to do is attach my front and my back pieces at the shoulders. The first thing you'll want to do with your back piece is to prep your darts. So I'm just going to lay this over here. I'm doing it a little bit unconventionally, and I'm going to make a slit for each one of my darts based on my size. And I'm going to take my marking pen, or in this case a pin, and indicate exactly where my dart needs to stop. So I'm going to put a pin there. I'm going to do the same thing with the back piece. The other side. I'm going to clip where I need to put those at and stick a pin right where it ends. Next thing you'll want to do is mark for your darts. Now for my 8815, I went ahead and added an inch to the bottom of the pattern so that I can make sure I don't get too much of a rise if I raise my hands in my shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and cut for my darts at the bottom. And put a pin where the dart ends. I'm going to make the placement for my dart here. Same places. And put a pin where the dart ends. And you can use a marking chalk or marking pen to do this as well. I'm going to take this over to the machine and I'm going to put those darts in. But while I'm over there, I'm going to go ahead and prep for my front darts as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same markings here. I'm going to take this over to the machine and I'm going to put my darts in. So we have 2 for the back pieces, for each of the back pieces, and then we have 2 darts for the front. So I'm going over to the machine and put my darts in and we'll be back to pin for the attachment at the shoulder, at the sleeve, and then close off the side seams. Okay, so now that I have my darts in my top, I'm going to go ahead and pin my shoulder seams together. On both sides. And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. Once I sew my shoulder seams together, I'm going to start on my sleeves. So why I have this, the sleeve for 8815 is a full sleeve, and I'm just going to shorten it a bit. So I have my sleeve here, have both pieces aligned. I'm going to cut off 3 inches. I don't want my sleeve all the way down to the edge. So I'm just going to mark here. And 3 inches here. And I'm going to take my rose color and just cut off that portion. If you're not comfortable doing this, you might want to grab your ruler, but I'm just going to eyeball this here. Cut off those 3 inches. Gone. Alright, so we have our sleeve prepped. I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine. Before I do my sleeve, I am going to do a 1/4 inch double fold on the end for each of my sleeves. I'm just going to finish that portion off so I don't have to do it after I attach the sleeve to the shirt. So I'm going to sew my shoulder seams on my shirt. I'm going to do the double hem on the sleeves. Then we'll come back and we'll start attaching the sleeve to the actual shirt. Okay, so now I have my shoulder seam sewn, and I have my 1/4 inch double seam on my sleeves completed. The next thing we're going to do is attach the sleeve to the shirt. Now I'm doing this open side seam method, which tends to be a little bit easier for beginner sewers. So I'm doing this method instead of setting the sleeve in. So I'm just going to fold that sleeve in half and just press it so I can have a midpoint here. And I'm going to line that midpoint with my shoulder seam and pin. I'm going to start with the left side. Align my edges. And I'm going to work in the ease for the rest of the shoulder off the sleeve. So because this doesn't have much ease, I'm just going to make some slits here to create the ease. I'm only cutting just less than 1/4 inch all the way up to the shoulder seam, which gives me some ease. And I'm going to stretch that ease and pin the rest of my sleeve until it's perfect. I'm going to put about 4 pins here. And I'm going to do the same with the other side. I'm going to create the ease. And I'm creating the ease in the bodice piece. I'm just going to stretch that ease and pin on the other side, just like it did with the front. Okay, so we have our sleeve set for the right side. I'm going to go ahead and pin the left side, take both of these to the sewing machine, and we're going to go ahead and show you how the finished product looks. Now, if you notice, I haven't been overstitching these stitches with my serger, but if you have one, definitely do that for the purposes of this tutorial. I am not doing it right this moment, but I'm doing it as I go along. Now that we have our sleeves attached, we're going to want to pin from the end of the sleeve. Matching the ends and the underarm seams. Do this for both sides. And the ends. So we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew down the arm hole, the underarm seam, and the side seams. Then we'll be ready to insert our zipper and then work on the hemming of the bottom of the crop top and also the neckline. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine. So now that we have our shirt assembled, we want to go ahead and start prepping for the zipper. I'm going to place my zipper upside down at the neckline and pin it on one side, just like we did with the skirt. The reason why I'm putting this upside down is because I want it to zip from top to bottom. I tend to do this when I'm making my bodices out of 8815 because how tight the neckline is, and also when I'm doing a crop top, I want to be able to get in and out of the garment easily. So I usually go from top to bottom. Now, I have a pretty big head, and if you do have an overly sized head, you want to make sure that before you attempt to use this technique that you at least measure your neck hole as it relates to the size of your head before you finish this off. If not, there's a couple of things you can do. You can cut off an extra 1/4 or 5/8 of an inch from the neckline. And you want to do this after you construct the garment and try it on. And then you can do the hem. You can do a single or a double hem. A double hem will give you a lot more room and still give you that tight neckline that you need, with enough room for it to fit over your head. So you definitely want to try this out before you put your zipper on. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew down one side, turn it around, and then come up from the bottom up to the top, and then we'll finish off the zipper. Okay, so in preparation for my zipper, I went ahead and did a 5/8 of an inch seam down the back using a 5mm stitch, so it's easy for me to take out. So I'm going to be taking out that zipper, that stitch now, from the top down to the bottom. Just opening up that stitch. You can do this with your seam ripper too, but I love these Ginger quilting scissors a lot. So I'm just opening up that stitch to expose my zipper so I can open it. I'm just separating and cutting as I go down. So I have my zipper exposed. I'm just going to move out these stitches that I cut. I can take my zipper up now from the bottom to the top. I'm going to cut my zipper about a 1/2 inch from the end. We're going to use the same method we used with the skirt. We're going to tuck and fold, and we're going to pin that. We're going to go around and hem the bottom of our shirt, and we're going to tack the top as well. And then we are literally done. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and hem and tack my zipper, and I'll come back and show you how the finished garment looks. So we've done our crop shirt, we've done our pleated midi skirt, and we are pretty much complete. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial with Needles and Fashion in collaboration with Fabric Mart Fabrics. I look forward to bringing you guys more tutorials. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to check out www.fabricmartfabrics.com. And any improvements that you guys need, let me know. If you would like to see some of the sewing portions, I try to keep these videos as short as possible. So be sure to check out www.needlesandfashion.com. Email me, let me know what you would like to see, what you would not like to see in a nice way. And, you know, I look forward to bringing you guys the next tutorial. So until next time, I will see you guys later.